Hi, my name is Catherine Crace. I'm a lawyer, social worker, and expert on the reporting of suspected child abuse and neglect. I'm here today to help you answer the question: do I have to report suspicions of abuse from years ago? Mandated reporters of suspected child abuse wonder if they have to make reports of cases they learn about where the case of abuse happened years ago. Mandated reporters in most states, however, are only required to make a report of suspected child abuse, including physical and sexual abuse, when the victim is still a child, regardless of how long ago the victimization occurred. In cases where the victimization happened when the person was a child, but the person is now 18 years or older, the mandated reporter usually is not required to make a report to Child Protective Services or CPS. This is because CPS is only empowered to intervene in situations where they're seeking to protect an existing child from harm. When the alleged victim is now an adult, CPS is limited in how they can intervene. However, there are a number of situations when the mandated reporter might still be required to make a report. Over 20 years ago, investigative reporters of the Boston Globe newspaper uncovered hundreds of child sexual abuse cases that were inadequately responded to by the Catholic Church over many decades. Their coverage of these cases resulted in hundreds of criminal prosecutions and convictions, and greater awareness of the widespread impact of child sexual abuse across the country and around the world. The work of the Boston Globe led to other investigations into churches, youth organizations, and school systems. For instance, Pennsylvania authorities uncovered long term widespread cover up of child sexual abuse perpetrated by a Penn State football coach, Jerry Sandusky. Additionally, the bravery of hundreds of gymnasts coming forward to report sexual abuse resulted in the criminal conviction of longtime team doctor Jerry Nasser and an overhaul of the USA Gymnastics program and youth sports programs across the country. Ultimately, many of these investigations found thousands of cases of child sexual abuse where systems that were legally, ethically, and morally responsible to protect children from victimization failed in those obligations. As a result, many states, including my home state of New York, have passed adult survivor laws that allow adults who were victimized in their childhood an opportunity to file civil lawsuits against individuals or institutions that were complicit in their victimization. These laws, however, are often time limited and rarely impact a mandated reporter's obligation. Instead, these laws are designed to provide the adult victim the opportunity to seek restitution for past abuse that is otherwise no longer possible under what we call existing statutes of limitations. Reports of past child abuse might be required of a mandated reporter even when the alleged victim is now 18 years old or over. If the mandated reporter determines, based on information of past abuse, that a child currently under the age of 18 is presently at risk of the abuse, they would be required to make a report to CPS. For instance, if an adult client reports that they were sexually victimized as a child by a parent or guardian, and that they have a younger sibling still in the home with the perpetrator, and that younger sibling is a child under 18, then the mandated reporter might determine that they have adequate suspicion related to the sibling's risk of victimization that would require a report to CPS. Can you make a report to CPS about past abuse even if it's not required? Well, in cases of child physical abuse, it's likely impossible for a mandated reporter to make a report to CPS regarding past abuse when the victim is no longer a child and there is no child currently at risk. In cases of sexual abuse, however, it is possible for the mandated reporter to make such a report of past abuse, but likely not to Child Protective Services. Reports of past child sexual abuse, in some cases, can be reported to law enforcement or the police department. Credible concerns, especially related to sexual abuse perpetrated by educators, clergy, and other community leaders who still have access to children, are important to be reported, regardless of how far in the past the abuse might have occurred. If you develop adequate suspicions of sexual abuse and the alleged victim is still a child under the age of 18, then you're required to make a report to CPS, even if the alleged abuse happened years ago. If you develop adequate suspicions of child sexual abuse, but the alleged victim is no longer a child, then you are likely only required to make a report if you have concerns for the safety of a child currently under the age of 18. However, you might be able to make a report to law enforcement. And if you have questions about your options, you can contact Child Protective Services in your state. And for more information on this topic and other obligations of mandated reporters, check out our website, www.makingthetoughcall.info.